Hello everybody! Welcome back to my anime review. Scott from Be here. Basically, almost every week I'll try to review an anime, a new anime, old anime, new season of an anime, and I'll give you my opinion. Alright, let's get straight to the point. Since Persona 4 Ultimax just came out, or Persona 4 Arena Ultimax just came out, for fun, I'm going to review Persona 4 the animation, as well as its counterpart Persona 4 Gold in the animation, which is going to be a separate review. If you want to see that review, wait till the end of this video for an annotation, or just check in the description, the link should be there. People hate this anime a lot for some reason. I don't know why. We'll see in a little bit, right? This anime is actually based on a video game, Persona 4, the old version. So a lot of things will be the same or different. Who knows? We'll have to see. I watched this anime in English dub because I had played the game in English dub. I did watch the anime in English sub as well, but we're going to be talking about the dub because the dub is more enjoyable to me. So let's get straight into it. Like usual, I'll be only explaining the most important parts of this anime, like the character, story, setting, relations, voice acting, animation, music, and the genre. We're going to start with the genre like always. This anime is action, fantasy, murder mystery anime, and they took it to the next level. There's also some school life stuff, but it isn't really focused on the school. A lot of the murder mystery isn't a lot of deduction, moreover, you'll see. Alright, let's go to the setting now. This whole anime is based in a small town called Inaba, which has been getting crazier and crazier, but let's leave that for the story section. Most of the time, they're at the main character's house, the main character's school, inside the TV, which will be explained later. Basically everywhere around town. Nothing else, really. And now, for the characters. There are a lot of characters to talk about, like, so many, but I'll only talk about the main character, his relatives, his group of friends, and the enemies. Now, before we actually get into the actual characters, let's talk about personas, shadows, and arcana. A persona is someone's true self, which is created when someone accepts themselves that they don't want to accept as themselves. Once they accept that fact, their persona is created from their shadow changing after the person accepts them as a part of themselves. Let's say I hate the fact that I'm a clean freak. I'm not a clean freak, by the way. I hate the fact that I'm a clean freak, and I pretend I'm not a clean freak. A monster would come up acting like a clean freak, an extreme clean freak, and if I didn't accept myself, it'd probably kill me, but if I accepted it, then it wouldn't kill me. These personas are used to fight other shadows. A shadow is a person's thoughts that aren't wanted or accepted. These thoughts manifest into a being and must be fought by the player and his friends so they can help their friends accept themselves. Shadows are a manifestation of one's true self, but is an extremely over-the-top version. Shadows get much more elaborate, but I'll stop there. Now, an arcana is like a class system for personas, and specific people that wield these arcanas and use specific personas. There are multiple types of arcana. Fool, Magician, Chariot, Priestess, Emperor, Love, Star, Fortune, and Judgment are all examples of different arcanas, and there are many more. And most of the arcanas are all the arcana are based off of tarot cards. And the arcana that I had listed before are all arcana that are gained automatically through gameplay, but there are arcanas like Death, Justice, Sun that are attained by creating bonds with people, and all arcana are powered up and leveled up by hanging out with the people who have these arcana and strengthening those bonds. The protagonist collects these arcana and uses them to wield the wild card. The wild card is explained to be given to someone who accepts himself from the beginning and can create a world of their own. The wild card lets the user summon any persona of any arcana as long as they have created that bond. First is Yu Narukami, the protagonist of the game. He is the most extremely open guy you'll ever meet, and who lets people know how he really feels at all times, as he has no secrets, basically. In the game, his personality is molded by the player, but in the anime, he's much more open than most people would make him be in the game. He wields the Fool Arcana as well as the Wild Card. His main persona is known as Izanagi. Next is the Investigation Group. They are used friends who help him progress the story and solve the mystery and find the truth. I don't want to give too much away, but I will state the first 3 people in this group. And first is Yosuke Hanamura. He is a random kind of guy who has some sort of sense of justice. He becomes Yu's closest friend and owns the Magician Arcana. He acts as if he is having fun all the time and acts as if he wants to do justice by helping solve the murders, but his shadow explains how he's just extremely bored out in the countryside since he was raised in the city like Yu was. His shadow explains how he's using the murders as a reason to do something instead of nothing, but like I said, the shadows are extremely over-exaggerated. His persona is known as Jiraiya. Second is Chie Satonaka. She is a tomboy who loves kung fu movies. She is best friends with someone named Yukiko and is always with her. She acts very confident, but her shadow shows how Chie is jealous of Yukiko and her she's so beautiful and her popularity, and is addicted to how Yukiko acts as if she needs Chie. But as I have said, the shadows are extremely over-exaggerated versions of how they truly feel. She is the wielder of the Chariot Arcana, and her persona's name is Tomoe. One thing I must mention is that her voice actor, if she sounds extremely different to you, then you will play the original Persona 4 on the PS2, but if it doesn't sound different, then you played every game after Persona 4, including Persona 4 Golden and the spin-off Persona 4 Arena, as well as Persona Q, because they had changed her voice actor. And lastly is Yukiko Magi. She is the popular girl at school and is somewhat refined and doesn't even realize she's really popular. She is best friends with Chie and is the child of people who own an inn named after her last name, the Amagi Inn. She's somewhat controlled and is always being told how she will be a great owner of the inn in the future, but her shadow reveals that she doesn't really want to own the inn, and she doesn't really want to be independent. She wants someone to help her get away from Inaba and go into a larger world, but just won't do it herself. She initially keeps her distance from her group of friends, but insists on being saved by someone, which is redundant. But, like I've said, the shadow is very over-exaggerated version of the true self. She wields the Priestess Arcana, and her persona is named Konohana Sakuya. Talk about Yu's family members. His parents aren't around for a reason I'll explain later, but at the moment he lives with his uncle and his cousin. His uncle is named Ryotaro Dojima, and is an investigative detective who is working on the murder cases in the town they live in. He is a great detective and is great at what he does, but isn't good at dealing with kids, and he always has to stay at work late, and his daughter ends up home alone a lot. He's not very good at talking to people unless it comes to work, so he has a hard time trying to talk to you as well. He represents the Hierophant Arcana, and he does not wield a persona himself. Lastly is Nanako Dojima. She is a grade school girl who is at the start an extremely shy girl, but slowly grows to love you and starts calling him Big Bro all the time. She's obsessed with the local department store Juness and its jingle, "Every day is great at your Juness." You're gonna get bored of hearing that very quick. So, she's always home alone and has no mother, as she died in an accident when she was young, so she feels very lonely. She represents the Justice Arcana, and she does not wield the persona herself. The enemies of this anime are monsters named Shadows. Like I've said before, they are human thoughts and feelings developed and formed into monstrous beings who attack those who oppose, defy, or reject them. There are people pulling the strings from behind, but I won't mention them or at all, so I don't spoil anything really. Shadows can take all shapes and sizes after revealing that they're shadows. Some shadows are always in a different form right when they start off. Now for the story. Yu has moved from his home in the city to Inaba, a small town, to live with his uncle and cousin because his parents went overseas for work for the year. Once he gets there, a murder takes place. He becomes friends with some people, another murder happens, but this time it was Yosuke's co-worker and crush. They find out about a show called the Midnight Channel that only shows at midnight, and if you watch it, you'll see your one true love. But in the end, when Yu watches it before Yosuke's co-worker died, he saw her on the channel. And as he tries to touch the TV out of pure reflex, his hand goes into the TV. The next day, him and Yosuke go into the TV world to find Yosuke's crush, and this is where shit goes down, and after a crazy fight, they realize that the murderer who killed the first person in Yosuke's co-worker is throwing people into the person who threw both the first person and Yosuke's co-worker into the TV is throwing people into the TV, only for them to be killed by the shadows that live in it. I won't go far into it, but in the end, Yu, Yosuke, Chi, and a bunch of others have to team up together and fight against the shadows and find out who's throwing people into the TV and to solve the mystery once and for all and figure out the truth. Now for the animations. They were nice, colorful, and fit how the game looked very well. They were crisp, but something I kept noticing was something with everyone's skin. I don't know if it was the lighting and it was on purpose, but everyone had the top of their face brighter and then more like bright beige, and then lower down the face it would get darker, and it got really dark, really dark at the end. And it wasn't that bad, but it was kind of distracting and really different from other anime that I've seen. Something you don't see in a lot of anime, and it really annoyed me. Now for the voice actors. These voice actors were great. They all had their respective voices from the game except two people. Chie is technically had her voice different from the original Persona 4 game, but I liked her new voice better. I felt it fit her better. And Naoto, who is a part of the investigation team later, has her voice changed. I had no problem with this as well. Not too different and not too bad. One big problem I had was with one voice actor, and I assumed they would change, but didn't, and that was a very bad call. I will say now that the next shit I'm about to say is somewhat spoiler, so it's kind of mild spoiler, but if you aren't dumb, you will understand what I'm saying, and then it will become really spoiler heavy. So click over here to skip it. You can just let's keep going. So both Yu Narukami and Toru Adachi, a police detective who works under Ryotaro Dojima, have the same voice actor. Now in the game it's okay, as Yu / the main character, protagonist, doesn't really speak with his voice much, because he's supposed to be a silent protagonist, and your choices are chosen by you, as Adachi talks a little too much. But in the anime, they both talk a lot, and Adachi is an important character in the story, and it just starts to piss me off. I know that he used different tones of voice when talking as you and Adachi, but so many times I got confused when I was trying to watch. I didn't know, maybe if I looked away, trying to listen, it was really annoying how their voice actor was just the same person and they just couldn't get someone else differently. I know that since they were important characters, that changing the voice actor would have been really bad. People probably would have gotten pissed, but it was really annoying to me. Oh my god, the music is fabulous. All of it is from the games, and some of them are mixed to fit the feel of an anime better, and it works amazingly. Now for the rating point of these reviews. As a rating, I'll split it into 5 different categories: the voice acting, animation, story, characters, and overall enjoyability. And we're going to start off with voice acting. 13 out of 20. The voices were great. I didn't mind Nacho's voice change of an actor, but having the same voice actor for two main fucking characters, two extremely important characters in this anime, is just ridiculous. And it was okay in the game, but in an anime, it's just fucking ridiculous. Animation, 17 out of 20. These animations are very amazing and very fluent. Their colors are very colorful, and they fit how I thought it would end up. But the skin problem I saw was really annoying. It was so noticeable and isn't in the games, and if I could not notice it, then I wouldn't mention it. But since I noticed it a lot, it annoyed the hell out of me, so I had to mention it. Story, 20 out of 20. This anime story is amazing, and even though the official last episode, which was number 26, which not many people know about as they separated as a OVA, didn't follow the entire story properly because they left stuff out from the game just to make sure it fit in the episodes that they had. It was still epic, and I loved it a lot because they didn't leave any story-related stuff out. You must be focused on this anime to fully enjoy this story because it became somewhat elaborate, but that's what made it amazing. Characters, 20 out of 20. These characters were very relatable and likable. Chie in the game wasn't very likable to me, but in the anime, I liked her much better. I have no way to explain why, I just did. I know people were pissed that some social links weren't very focused on, or weren't shown as their own episode, like some were, but they only had 26 episodes. What did you expect? There are over 10 social links, not to mention the actual story of the game. How the fuck are they supposed to fit all of those into 26 episodes without leaving stuff out? If they had no choice, so I don't think you should be nagging. They had no choice, and the ones they did focus on were the ones I enjoyed. Enjoyability, 20 out of 20. This anime was very faithful to the games, and even though some things were left out, I don't quite care because the stuff they put in is were very executed very well. Now, before moving on to the ending, for the whole, adding up to the points, let's talk about if this anime is good for those who are fans of the franchise, and if it's good to those who aren't. Persona 4 is a very faithful anime to the game, but leaves stuff out and adds stuff in so it feels more like an anime and not a game. I think people who are fans of the franchise will enjoy it immensely, whereas those who know nothing of the world of Persona might be kind of confused. Some terminology isn't explained that well, so people will think Yu Narukami is just OP as shit, whereas those who played the game will understand that it's just who he is, and things happen that make him who he is. And in conclusion, I believe both fans and newcomers of the Persona world will enjoy this anime, although it will be confusing to people who are new. Overall score, 90 out of 198%, an A grade for this anime. I hope you enjoyed the video. In the description there should be a link to watch it online, because my control does not have it. Thank you guys for watching. Stop from SAV. I'll see you guys next time.